Unafanya nini uchizi huku?
Chizi wenyewe na watu wa kwenu. Tuheshimiane.
Ulikuwa unaangalia nini? Mbona ukakusikitika hivi?
Niko sawa. Niko sawa tu, kuna shida.
Unajua ulijaribu sana kunikanya lakini sikukusikiza. Najuta.
Kama kawaida leo umechelewa.
Nakuona umechangamka sana. Hata juma la mwisho nilikuwa umechangamka hivi nilini.
Kwa hivyo wataka sote tushikwe, tufungiwe huko ndani. Alafu atakayekusaidia nani?
Hello and good morning. Karibu tena sana. This is Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Womboy. It is the 9th day of November 2021. We trust you've woke up to a beautiful Tuesday morning here on Good Morning Kenya. From wherever you're watching us from, we are glad that you have chosen to start your morning with us. And as always, we appreciate that you choose to start your morning with us right here on KBC Channel 1. And kama kawaida, we have such a fantastic show lined up for you. And as always, it is a one-man, four-lady army. Ati four. Nimejiongezea mwingine. Hey. Okay, kuna camera lady hapa. So let's call it that way. And 3 ladies on air. How are you doing, my people? There we go. Hey, that was nice. That was nice on cue.
Yeah.
Good morning, Vic.
Good morning. I like the color. Is it the color bar, the color combination? Green, red, navy blue, and is it purple, pink?
Pink.
Okay, you know, for us men, the only thing we know is black and white.
Hiyo inakwanga line ya kujitetea.
Don't know what you're saying.
Kazi ile umeshindwa kusema ni kala gani.
Good morning, Doreen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Regina.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm great. However, as we start our morning.
Is it a disclaimer?
No, I'm just saying it's a fact. It's what's going on, and it's been making headlines. So just in case you did not catch up with it on social media, I'd want to read it as it was said. So, in the social media, we have some people posting some nice things. You would see some posting nice houses, cars, taking their families to nice places, and so on. Here we are not sleeping. When we see those, we see taxes.
Yeah. You're living large.
Those are the words of KRA Commissioner General Githui Mboro. So KRA is watching. Those holidays, those posh cars, mambo ya soft life utaacha kwa social media, my friend. Taxes utalipa.
As you're out here living life to the fullest,
if you look like money, you're going to pay KRA money.
Hey, Bana, have we lost our priorities?
I don't know. Sasa ni kama ukilipwa mshahara yako ufai kujinunulia tu vitu tuzuri juu KRA ita presume.
Nunua tu lakini usituoneshe. I think ndio wanasema.
Hiyo ndio wanasema.
Headaches on Instagram.
So in essence, wana humble watu.
Kindly please, tuko sasa ligi so
ligi the same.
Tuko same.
So is KRA social media police boss?
They're not policing the social media. They're just using
Monitoring.
whatever is already available.
I was.
And they're
Remember,
keeping track so
there
that
was
you can
this-
pay your taxes.
There was this Nigerian, famous Nigerian, so he was actually
Yes.
doing money laundering.
Blogger.
Yes. And he had posted flashy cars, Chryslers and the like.
Jets.
Over. My friend, they went for him.
Yes. Na
And they
alipeana
found
watu wote.
He was a fraud.
Alipeana kila mtu alikuwa na finance.
Imagine.
But you see, they say that those who have do not even show. You won't even recognize whatever they are. They're very down to earth. They camouflage. Let me say that. They
Unfortunately, those are the wise ones.
yes, they
Those
camouflage.
are the wise ones. Now, KRA knows a majority of us do not fall into the category of being wise.
But look at it this way. Are we not living our real lives? We are living, people are living fake lives on social media. So on the other side, KRA side again. On the flip side, unaona mtu ako wapi?
Maldives.
Dubs. Hey, Maldives.
Na me check in at
Santorini.
my happy place. Where is this happy place at, by the way? I've never been there.
I think that's why they say just live your life, live within your means.
So
Do
live
what you
your
can
life.
do. Do not let social media lie to you.
Man,
But it will be interesting to see if they follow through with their word, because so many young people are living flashy lives that they cannot really, you know,
it's a lot
account
of
for.
pressure. It's a lot of pressure. Because Jane has it. You don't know how Jane acquired it. Probably aliombewa, you know, she worked for
And even
hard for her.
sometimes they don't even have it in the first place. Leave even alone the fact
exactly.
that alipatiwa aje ama
No.
how did they get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even have these things.
Jane wakes up at 3 a.m. every day to come and work.
Manze.
So akiflout bwana achana na yeye.
Sasa una tiptoe kwa nyumba ati ndio mtoto asiamke.
And then there you are. Hey,
Now
manze.
we can only say Big Brother is watching.
Big bro,
All right.
man.
So-
Iko sawa.
Aye.
You're
Regina.
posing with that Rolex Victor, my
Yes.
friend.
KRA is coming for me.
When you're declaring your wealth, did you
Declare it as an asset.
Hey.
as an asset?
Hey.
You see that is in essence that's what it means. You don't need
Yeah.
to do the flashy cars. It's even the small things. Kama kufuga kuku, you know, like maybe you're saying, oh, kona kuku X, Y, Z. You see, when you're filling in your assets, some
Yeah.
of these things we ignore. You actually tell yourself, kuku wangu wenye nimefuga ni wa consumption, sio I do
Commercial.
not earn from them. However, ikifika kama huu msimu wenye tunaelekea wa Krismasi, unaanza kupiga bei. Cause kuku wamenona, tulisema broiler, Ken Brew, kienyeji,
Crossbreed.
1500.
Bas. Kwanza Ken Brew inachukuanga
Pakuku.
hizo.
Pakuku.
I wish you'd see a Ken Brew. Those things
Yeah.
are huge.
You see, they sell them by the kg. Wachana na hii yenye tunaona town
On
doing
average,
rotisserie and something else.
1400.
We're talking about chicken. Chicken was the name chicken.
Goko.
Hey.
Kitu
Alright.
kama hiyo, yeah, 1500. Depending on the kg. Actually, they do with the kgs because of the weight. Kuku amekula mwaka mzima.
And you had
But
not
then-
said you own those things from
Dead
the
weight ni 2.2.
But at the end of the day, by the time, you know, 23rd imefika, you're doing around 20,000 in your pocket. You had not declared that source of income.
So I have a question. How will KRA do all these things? We are around, how many are we?
Trust
40
me.
something million?
Close
Let's
to
just give it a
50
figure
million.
of 30 million active members of the society.
They do not need to do it to all of us 30.
So just come to you. Regina,
Those select
tumekuona,
few. If they pick a
Regina.
sample
Sample
group
group.
Yes.
and they bring them into the tax paying fold, because remember, immediately you get into that database as a taxpayer, there is no exit clause. That's what you need to know. Kulipa
One-way
ushuru
street.
ni kujitegemea. If you look at the number of people who actually pay taxes in this country, is less than 5 mil. Actually, is it 5 million? Yes, 5-6 millions there, like consistently. And that is actually focusing on the PAYE, that is pay as you earn. KRA has been trying to widen its tax base, yes, to include and even to include Juakali. This is the informal sector. A majority of Kenyans lie in the informal sector. These are also people who prefer table banking, chamas, so they are underbanked also. Pesa yao inatoka kwa hii mfuko ikienda kwa mfuko ingine. They make Business, actually, they're the ones who circulate money. However, they are not into that. They are not in the database because in informal sector.
Yeah.
So if they get 100, 100 new taxpayers, or even 500,000 taxpayers, it will really go a long way to increase, what their earnings. Remember, KRA has been missing its revenue collection targets for the last 7-10 years. It has never met its target, and now more than ever the country needs lots and lots of money. Why? Post-COVID recovery, general elections and such. Where is this money coming from? Remember, government does not generate its own money. It's taxpayers' money, Victor. So this time more than ever, KRA needs to at least do 95 when it comes to its revenue collection, because there's so much that needs to be done with so little. There's been even talk by National Treasury saying that they want to increase our debt ceiling that is currently at 9 trillion. Yes, and our ceiling is 12 actually. So they want to increase it so that they can at least manage to carry out government business development and also recurrent expenditure. Remember the BBI that's also going to be hearing about the direction today in as far as where we're headed with the BBI issue. If it comes into place or if it is effected, monies are going to be required. Huge sums of money. Around the estimate that I last saw indicated that if BBI, with the creation of the new posts and such, we'd be talking about a capital injection, or rather money is required of around 20 billion. So we're talking about money, and KRA is about getting that revenue to enable government carry out its duties. So more than ever this time, KRA is out to at least make it not 80.
Okay. To the news.
Joyous story.
To the news, Regina.
To make our business class.
To the news.
Come on, it's just basic. Anyway, there's so much that is happening as far as news is concerned, and we're open to your feedback. You can reach us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 News. Our individual Twitter handles are at Doreen Arange, that is Traffic Marshal A1, at Ray Manyara, at Jane Wamboi, and at Victor Olo. We are live also on our various social media platforms, including Facebook and our YouTube channel. So get online if you're not, you're not out of the house. Yes, you can watch it from your television set, or even we've gone digital. You can get it on your gadget, as they say, not your phone this time, smartphone. You can check us out on your tab or other electronic gadget. I'm Regina Manyera. Now, before we bring you up to speed with those stories that have been making headlines, we take a quick breather. We'll be right back. Good morning, the 9th of November 2021. You're tuned to KBC Channel 1, where we keep you informed on what has been making headlines in the last 12 or 24 hours ago. So I'm Regina Manyera. Now, without further ado, is that the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, says students found guilty of arson will be locked out of the education system. Professor Magoha says no institution will admit learners linked to nationwide school fires. The warning comes as over 35 students were arrested in connection with cases of unrest in various schools across the country.
Secretary Professor George Magoha is now talking tough as cases of school unrest sweep through the country. With more than 20 public schools already closed, Education CS has made it clear that those found guilty will have to say goodbye to their education.
Same story that when students are in the prep room, then the dormitory caught fire. You think we have no brains? So I hope people don't come and start saying, oh, let's treat this with decorum. When they are burning other children's properties in the dormitory, are they thinking of decorum?
Speaking in Machakos School, Magoha dismissed claims that the frequent banning of schools is attributed to COVID-19 stress, instead throwing blame to parents for abdicating their responsibilities.
There are CCTV cameras everywhere. There's a command and control center manned 24 hours. Even when a student is going to the toilet, you can see. So what is all this nonsense? That students were in a prep room and fire started in the boarding house. It is stupid, it is primitive, and it must stop.
But as Professor Magoha was reading the Riot Act, 11 students were arraigned before Nyeri Court for attempting to torch Kagumo and Kiandu schools, respectively. In Siaya, Maranda Secondary School was closed indefinitely, and 6 students arrested following a fire incident that razed down 2 dormitories. Teachers now demanding that caning be returned in schools to instill discipline on the rogue students.
I want to use this platform first to appeal to all students of this nation that there is no amount of stress that can make you destroy millions of properties that have been put in our institutions.
We'll be keeping tabs on what is happening as far as our learning institutions are concerned. Remember, last week actually, the Ministry of Education issued a circular and a statement that, midterms have been affected for this term. When we began this term during the crash program, owing to the COVID-19 disruptions, none had been given out, and this is set for next week. So the Education Cabinet Secretary there talking tough there and blaming the parents here as well as the administration, for what is happening and not the crash program. What is your take in regard to the current spate of school fires and school unrest? The more we continue highlighting them, in my personal view, the more this wildfire, whether it is called, or rather that it is termed as school unrest, continues. Is it the high time that also the media gave it a blackout? Food for thought. Now let's cross over to matters of food security, where the government needs 7.3 billion shillings to support 2.5 million Kenyans affected by drought. Public Service, Gender, Senior Citizens Affairs and Special Programs Cabinet Secretary Professor Margaret Kobier says the affected population is in 23 counties and will remain food insecure for the remaining part of the year. The government will start making cash transfers to purchase food for families facing the wrath of drought. Kamche Meza has the details.
From December this year, 2.5 million people in 23 arid and semi-arid counties affected by drought are expected to start receiving a stipend from the government.
It is 2,000 per person or 3,000 per household. The money is supposed to be given per month, and where it is not done per month, at least 2 months. Therefore, moving forward in the month of December, we will not be dealing with physical food.
Public Service, Gender, Senior Citizen Affairs and Special Programs Cabinet Secretary Professor Margaret Kobier acknowledged gaps in the distribution of relief food, hence the need for change of tact.
To adequately address the impending crisis, the government has identified priority needs in key sectors amounting to Kenya shillings 7.3 billion. This will cover cost of delivery of food safety needs, livestock, health and nutrition, agriculture, education and water for the period ending December 2021.
Much more accountable, much more transparent, much quicker in our response, and much cheaper. It's much cheaper to do cash transfer.
Development partners have pledged to support efforts to mobilize resources in resilience building for affected regions.
In September, I helped to launch an emergency drought appeal for almost 140 million I'm very happy to tell you that during the meeting today, the United States government confirmed an additional allocation of $34 million, which means that we're almost at 50% of what we need.
Currently, 8 counties, Marsabit, Mandera, Tana River, Lamu, Garissa, Wajir, Isiolo and Turkana are said to be in the alarm drought phase, with 12 other counties facing a similar fate amid low rainfall. Meanwhile, the government will continue streamlining disbursements under social protection interventions, targeting 369,000 vulnerable households and 734,119 individuals.
The Supreme Court will hold a physical session to issue directions on the Building Bridges Initiative appeals today. The November 9th, Attorney General Kihara Kariuki moved to the Supreme Court in September to challenge the decision by the Appellate Court to affirm the nullification of BBI.
Through Solicitor General Kennedy Ogeto, the Attorney General Kihara Kariuki said they were challenging the finding by the majority of the 7-judge bench, which held that the basic structure doctrine is applicable in Kenya. In addition, the AG is challenging the ruling that civil proceedings can be instituted against the president during the tenure of office in respect of anything done or not done, contrary to the Constitution. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission separately filed an appeal against the ruling, particularly on the constitutional composition, quorum and mandate of the electoral body. On August 20th this year, the Court of Appeal upheld the High Court ruling that nullified the BBI. In a majority decision, 6 of the 7-judge bench tore into the BBI process, declaring several stages in action unconstitutional and unlawful.
We'll be keeping tabs on that and bringing you that particular broadcast live from Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, so to speak. So do keep it right here. Now, a lawyer reported abducted over 12 days ago was found alive. Professor Hassan Nadwa was found in Mwingi, but his client Eljiva Bwire is still missing. Following the development, the Law Society of Kenya has announced a countrywide demonstration to compel authorities to take stern action to those behind those abductions.
A lawyer who had gone missing after an apparent abduction has been found in Mwingi safe and sound. Professor Hassan Nadwa was found alive in Mwingi on Monday at 1 a.m. and later reunited with his family.
We are hoping that Safaricom Limited will comply and supply us with the data which we will be able to analyze to just determine what happened, how Professor was abducted.
This is after he disappeared for more than a week from what his peers claimed was abduction.
We want to call this country that we have a constitution. None of us at the leadership level, at the community level, and all levels in this country will want to see as a Kenya faced with threats of terrorism. We all want a peaceful country.
Nadwa was allegedly dumped about 200 kilometers away from Nairobi. Speaking in Nairobi, civil society activists have condemned the act, terming it a gross violation of human rights.
There are people who have disappeared, and you are witnesses to 18 bodies who have been collected from the Tana River at the bridge at Garissa. A lot of those are Kenyans. There is torture signs on each one of them. Who did this, we don't know.
Led by LSK Chief Executive Officer Mercy Wambua, the lawyers have accused authorities for not taking the issues of alleged forced disappearance with seriousness.
As a Law Society of Kenya, we do condemn in the strongest terms possible the abduction, mysterious disappearances, not only of our members, but also of Kenyans.
If you are in law enforcement, law comes before enforcement. If you are in national security, national comes before security.
The organizations drawn from Kenya Human Rights Commission, Amnesty International, SUPKEM, Kituo cha Sheria and Law Society of Kenya, questioned the manner security is provided to its citizens. The acts of forced disappearance, abduction, kidnapping in Kenya, the latest involving Professor Hassan Nadwa and his client Elgiva Abwire, has ignited wrath from members of the Civil Society of Kenya, Law Society of Kenya included, even as they call on the government to ensure that the rights of every Kenyan is not violated, infringed or threatened.
We'll be keeping tabs on that too. To the corridors of justice, the Supreme Court has thrown out an application by former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko challenging the swearing in of Anne Kananu as Nairobi Governor. The court ruled that it has no jurisdiction to hear the application. Sonko had moved to the Apex Court on the 25th of October, seeking to stop the swearing in of Kananu after the Court of Appeal struck out his case.
The Apex Court has cleared the way for the swearing-in of Nairobi Deputy Governor Anne Kananu as the city-county boss. This is after a 5-judge bench declined to issue orders stopping Kananu from assuming office of the governor, claiming Mike Sonko's application was premature. They noted that in the absence of judgment of the Court of Appeal, the application did not meet the threshold as per the Constitution. The main appeal filed before the Court of Appeal by Sonko is yet to be heard and determined, with directions on the hearing of the appeal set for November the 15th. In October, the appellate court dismissed Sonko's appeal of the High Court decision to remove him from office, forcing him to move to the Supreme Court.
Off to the counties, Kakamega County government has handed over 14 acres of land to the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining for the establishment of a gold refinery. Meanwhile, a 63-year-old bishop from Igembe North, Meru County, has embarked on a 300 kilometers walk to Nairobi to deliver a message to the Deputy President. More of this and other stories in our county's news roundup.
Kakamega County Governor Wycliffe Oparanya said that the gold refinery will efficiently facilitate and ensure economic exploitation of the mineral within the western region. High-value gold deposits have been identified in Ushuru, Bushiangala and Rostaman areas.
Hii project ni ya muhimu sana kwa watu wetu, na nina hakika hii mradi ukianza utabadilisha maisha ya watu wengi kabisa katika Kakamega County.
Elsewhere, Kenya National Farmers Federation has urged the Ministry of Agriculture to release funds meant to boost agriculture in the country.
Lazima wakulima waendelee kulima, lazima kuwe na mipangilio ambayo kampeni zisije zikaingia zikaharibu uchumi.
Yes. Still in Kiambu County, farmers in Limuru have been urged to embrace and practice organic farming, which is medicinal and could help in management of lifestyle diseases locally and globally. This follows concerns over the increased use of chemical fertilizers, which in turn lead to climate change.
Agriculture is the backbone of this nation, and we really would like the government to put more emphasis on giving more money into farming so that people can get enough food.
And the Kenya National Qualification Authority has rolled out a policy framework for recognition of informal sector skills by institutions of higher learning and employers in the public and private sectors. The initiative will see youth in the agriculture sector awarded certificates based on skills they have acquired at work and without having to seek formal education.
It's going to be a game changer in the national food security systems, in the sense that we are going to recognize the skilled manpower that we now have. Because previously there were challenges in the sense that how do we know this person is competent, the issue of competence.
Finally, Bishop Peter Machuka of the Harvest Christian Church from Igembe North in Meru County has embarked on a 300 kilometers walk to Nairobi to deliver a special message to the Deputy President William Ruto. The 63-year-old says he's under firm instructions from God.
But kwa sababu Mungu aliniambia niliamua mpaka nifanye hivyo ili nisije nikamwasi Mungu.
Now we speak matters business. You are likely, or rather you are unlikely to get a loan from a bank in the coming days following a directive by the central bank to commercial banks to stop blacklisting borrowers who fail to repay loans of up to 5 million shillings. In a statement, the central bank projects that its directive could adversely impact provision of credit, as banks will be unable to distinguish between the good and bad borrowers, hence leading to rationing of credit.
Monday's announcement by the Central Bank of Kenya is in line with a directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta during the Mashujaa Day celebrations last month.
That the relevant authorities will, for loans less than 5 million, effect a moratorium of listings in CRBs for a period of 12 months to the end of September 2022.
And on Monday, the Central Bank of Kenya said it had directed banks to stop blacklisting defaulters who owe banks less than 5 million shillings. In light of the exceptional circumstances from the coronavirus pandemic, and in particular, aiming to shield micro, small and medium enterprises from the adverse effect. The suspension is therefore targeted to rope in MSMEs for a specified duration that will provide space to turn around their businesses. As such, effective fast last month, credit reference bureaus will not include any credit report and negative credit information for loans of a customer who has defaulted on a loan of up to 5 million shillings. The central bank adds the relevant authorities will, for loans less than 5 million shillings, effect a moratorium of listing in CRBs for a period of 12 months to end in September 2022. The central bank projects that borrowers are likely to face challenges accessing loans following today's announcement. The CBK says the suspension could adversely impact the provision of credit by banks to the target group, as they will be unable to distinguish between the good and bad borrowers during the suspension period. This could lead to rationing of credit, as was evident during the period of interest rate caps from 2016 to 2019.
Now, in essence, what this means is that, yes, if you have a loan of less than 5 million shillings, effective 1st of last month, that was 1st of October, you will not be listed in the CRB for a period of 12 months. This is just a strategy to just help especially MSMEs rebuild, or rather post-recovery for businesses that went under during the COVID-19 situation. That's the COVID-19 year, 2020. However, in hindsight now, banks, or rather credit lending facilities, will be facing a challenge, because how then, if there is no credit information sharing? Remember, the CRB was one of those ways to ensure that you and I pay up loans. If now this affects the credit information sharing system, then how will they tell who is good or bad credit? So what the bigger picture is, it may be good that you're not going to be listed under CRB. However, you might not fall in the category of good borrowing because of risks, especially those people who do not have guarantees in terms of assets and such. So we might have a credit crunch, so to speak, especially targeting that particular group, MSMEs. But yes, that's just a warning. So now you know. So in one hand, you're celebrating, you're off the books in as far as the CRB listing is concerned. But someone else, because they fall into that category, might not get that much required credit because they are considered risky. The government has been urged to broaden policies and regulations that will empower small businesses to thrive and recover, especially after the COVID-19 disruptions. Small businesses say they are facing challenges in marketing their Kenyan products and have welcomed the Make It Kenya Extravaganza exhibition to be held in Nairobi later this month, noting it is an opportunity to showcase their products to a wider market. Here's Alan Auko with more.
In a September 2020 survey done by the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, 14.7% of businesses closed their operations when COVID-19 pandemic hit the country. The survey showed that most operational businesses were still struggling to get to pre-COVID levels. With increasing vaccine uptake and an opening economy, stakeholders say there is a need for business continuity with better policies.
We know a lot of things change when legislation is changed. So we are going to have government institutions, members of the diplomatic corps. We are going to have discussions around this issue of Made in Kenya brand. How can we strengthen it? How can government change laws for us to make sure that our consumption is consumption of locally made material?
Despite the reopening of the economy, small businesses continue to face challenges that include limited access to market, slow business and funding challenges, with many running aground before their first birthday.
I think now that we have been given the green light, it's now time to relook and re-engineer DNA. And people, there's still an element of consumerism that is out there. It's just how do you repackage yourself, such that you remain relevant for those who survived and those who are actually at the verge of closing. How do you now get a new impetus to get your business up and running? So I think those are conversations we want to start having now, moving forward.
To mitigate against some of the challenges, the Make It Kenya Extravaganza exhibition, to be held in Nairobi next week, alongside other expos, have been identified as avenues for business recovery for small businesses.
We will be looking at business leaders, especially within the SMBs community, to attend and get the training that they need to be able to grow their businesses.
Our partners, the banks that we are working with, partners like Keproba, the county governments are also getting spaces. You can get to be an exhibitor at MIC through them. It is a small fee for SMEs, small companies at a cost of 30,000. Bigger companies, the stands are going to cost them between 100 and 200,000. We have many small businesses that are going to be sponsored to come and exhibit at the event.
Participants called for conducive policies for businesses to thrive.
Some private sector players are saying that tapping into TVETs can also include opportunities for the young people going forward, especially after the COVID-19 disruption.
Now, the number of women engineers remains low in Kenya despite various efforts in place to address the gender gap. Out of the 7,000 registered engineers in Kenya, less than 500 are female. The Institution of Engineers of Kenya plans to partner with learning institutions to encourage more young women to join the fraternity.
Kenya's engineering industry is heavily skewed towards men, with all the subsectors being dominated by males. For example, out of 1,188 registered civil engineers, 126 are women despite the immense job opportunities. Kenya has more than 1,000 consulting engineers, where only 14 are registered women.
Encouraging more and more women to take up any field that they have interest, competences and intellectual capacity. And we have seen an increase, an upsurge in the numbers of engineers, and we continue to encourage girls and women that this is a very fulfilling career. It is just like any other, and it's also an economic issue.
To address the glaring gaps, the Institution of Engineers Kenya says it has started programs to mentor girls to venture into the industry. Some of the identified barriers to women transitioning to engineering field include cultural issues, lack of mentorship, and low uptake of science, technology, mathematics, and science courses.
As a profession, we also face challenges in terms of retention. You find that women opt for, yes, they have done engineering, but as they exit from university, you find that then they opt for softer careers.
The Engineers Board of Kenya says it has launched an online portal to encourage more graduate engineers to register, since more than 15,000 graduate engineers in Kenya are yet to get certified.
To launch the African Female Engineering Hall of Fame. Kwa hii Hall of Fame, we are awarding wale watu wote kutoka the most senior engineer to even student engineers, ndio waweze kuonyesha kile wameweza kuachieve, na tukifanya hivyo tunaamini kwamba tutaweza kuwahimiza hawa watoto wadogo waweze kuingia kwenye kiwanja cha uhandisi.
More than 2,000 graduate engineers enter the job market every year, with most of them exploring job opportunities abroad.
From matters engineering to the financial sector, where Equity Group made 26.9 billion shillings in net profit during the first 9 months of this year, representing a 79% year-on-year increase. The lender attributes the performance to higher interest income at 67 billion shillings and a 68% reduction in provision for bad loans at 4.6 billion shillings.
Unlike the previous year, when Equity's profits fell 20% and its provisions for bad loans rose 11-fold, the first 9 months of 2021 have seen the top-tier lender increase its margin.
An 85% growth in profit before tax, a 79% profit growth after tax, a 27% growth in total assets, and a 25% growth in total income.
This was powered by higher group total funding that rose by 27%, driven by growth in customer deposits of 27%, up to 875.7 billion shillings. This was supported by the growth in loan book by 23% to 559 billion shillings. The performance is largely attributable to recovering income streams from COVID-19 related disruptions. Equity's total operating expenses reduced 3.3% to 43.8 billion shillings due to a reduction in loan loss provisioning by 68% to 4.6 billion shillings from 14.3 billion shillings during a similar period last year.
But I think where we expect significant changes in the P&L, we expect non-funded income to even grow faster because we are focusing on cross-border trade.
The ratio of non-performing loans fell to 8.9% from 10.4%. The group accommodated loans worth 171 billion shillings owing to COVID-19 disruptions, of which loans worth 122 billion shillings have resumed repayment, while 4 billion shillings has been downgraded to non-performing loans, with 45 billion shillings constituting 7% of the total outstanding gross loan book of 608 billion shillings.
When you take the Kenyan banking industry, as at August was at 13.8. So we are 500 basis lower than the industry in quality of our loan book. Our loan book is 500 basis better than the industry loan book, and that gives us confidence that it's not just good performance, but high quality balance sheet, highly liquid balance sheet, and a significant balance sheet.
The bank's total operating income expanded by 25.6% to 80.5 billion shillings on account of 24% growth in interest income, while non-interest funded income grew by 39% to 31.4 billion shillings.
On matters insurance, the Association of Kenya Insurers has called on underwriters to take advantage of artificial intelligence and digital tools to move from the traditional reactive experience to a predictive and proactive experience. Aki says insurers need to move beyond the automation of routine, labor-intensive data gathering and processing tasks to portfolio management and greater interaction with brokers and large customers.
Insurance consumers are increasingly preferring to self-manage their insurance policies online, but very few insurers have developed digital capabilities to enable this preference. ACI Executive Director Tom Gishui says the association hopes for end-to-end digitization in various insurance covers, where they will facilitate insurance buying, payment and claiming on the digital domain. Through the claims registration app, Kenyans will be able to access life tax relief. With a certificate, the client will be able to claim tax relief from employers, as per the government directive. Non-life insurance gross premium amounted to 132.70 billion Kenyan shillings in 2020, a slight decrease from 133.45 billion Kenyan shillings recorded in 2019. Medical and motor insurance classes maintained a leading position in terms of contribution. In non-life insurance, business premium at 33.43% and 33.71% respectively. Underwriting results improved from a loss of 3.27 billion Kenyan shillings in 2019 to a loss of 2.33 billion Kenyan shillings in 2020. Medical insurance recorded the highest underwriting profit of 1.7 billion Kenyan shillings, which may be attributed to people staying away from hospitals, resulting in fewer hospital visits due to the fear of COVID-19. Gishui attributed the drop to the financial constraints insurance clients had to face during the pandemic, noting that with the ongoing opening of the economy, the rate of insurance cancellation and non-renewals would be reduced.
Now we cross over to matters corporate, where pension fund trustees and administrators have been asked to show greater accountability to members by ensuring they have access to the right information. Zamara Group CEO Sandeep Raichura said inadequate member communication was the greatest failure within the pension schemes. Here are the details of this from the corporate scene.
Zamara Group says most pension fund members only receive communication when joining and exiting the pension fund. Group CEO Sandeep Raichura says to effectively address the savings and retirement issues of Kenyans, there is need to focus on the entire financial journey. He also called on the government to reconsider the current tax deductible limit on pension contributions of only 20,000 shillings a month and have it increased.
Because if you give somebody a benefit statement that says you've got 1.2 million shillings in your account, that person might think I'm going to do well. But if you then translate that to say this is going to give you a pension of only 4,000 a month, you are likely to get some action from the individual member.
We have around 4 or 5 tax proposals. And even last year we had around 4 or 5 tax proposals, which we submitted to Treasury. We went there and explained to them very well, but they did not take them up. If industry supports us as we are pushing these things, I think we have more chance of passing.
Meanwhile, Bank of Kigali Group PLC has recorded a 33% jump in profit to 4 billion shillings in the first 9 months of this year, underlining the Rwandan economy's strong rebound from the COVID-19 pandemic shocks. Bank of Kigali Group, whose shares are cross-listed on the Rwanda Stock Exchange and the Nairobi Securities Exchange, recorded a 20.1% growth in interest income to 14.4 billion shillings on the back of a 21.4% year-on-year growth in the loan book to 8.9 billion shillings.
Book value now above 300 francs per share. That's our book value per share. Market is still moving quite slow when you look at valuations. However, basic earning per share going at above 33% per year. We are sure that in the days to come, we expect to see some good pricing or response from the market, because our earning per share has increased to 54.2 francs per share from 42.6 last year.
Finally, UAP Old Mutual has embarked on an agreement with SME Support Center and Kenbright to underwrite a customized financial solution for SMEs. The cover provides life insurance, critical illness insurance, permanent disability, as well as a funeral cover, and aims to reach more than 10,000 SMEs in 3 years.
And with the help of SME Support Center, how do we bring the insights from that segment and combine our risk management expertise with the insights that we're getting from that sector and start innovating or crafting solutions that actually resolve their real problems. And I think that's really the significant point.
They reached out to us, and they're working with the ecosystem, the ecosystem that actually aggregates SMEs. So it's very interesting to see that they bring in the players like ourselves on the board. So that open mind.
Before we look at what has been happening in the sporting arena, how about we take a quick breather?
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
You're acting different. Please. Just be careful.
Once a wild goose starts flying, it'll never quit.
I'll ask you one last time. Do you really want to marry me? You're like my sister. Forget me. I believe in the future. You'll meet your hero.
After you drink this cup of wine, you will become my wife.
那一人那一面，也不愿你我错过的流年。某一年，某一眼，谁留恋？
Good morning. You're still watching KBC Channel 1 and this is in the headlines. Now we cross over to the sporting arena where Harambee Stars started their training Monday in preparation for the World Cup qualifier matches against Uganda and Rwanda. Kenya is already, however, out of the contention for a spot in the next round of the qualifiers, having failed to win a match in their last 4 outings. The team coached by Egen Firat has so far managed 2 draws and 2 losses in Group E. They'll face Uganda this Thursday in Kampala before hosting Rwanda at the Nyayo Stadium on Sunday.
A league and we have to see how many players we have on some positions. And now, for example, I give you some information. Joseph Okumu get injured. He cannot play in these matches. Then Josh Onyango and Brian Mandela, they prefer to stay with their teams. So therefore, anyways, 3 players were there out, and I need, of course, also some experienced player next to them. And I wanted to give David and Musa also a chance to show themselves because they played many years in national teams, they're experienced players. And like I said, we need also a good balanced mix. We cannot play only with young players.
Now still keeping up with martial sports, 200 athletes from Nairobi region turned up for the Athletics Kenya seminar which commenced yesterday in Ngong, Kajiado County. The Federation will be holding a series of seminars across the country in a bid to create awareness on mental health among Kenyan athletes.
In a bid to create awareness on mental health, doping and financial savings, Athletics Kenya has embarked on holding a series of seminars for athletes across the country.
Social life, there's a missing link with the athletes, because the missing link is this, an athlete comes from nowhere, of course has been training, wins a championship, gets a lot of money, but there's no education in between on how to handle themselves.
We are ready to assist each other and also to assist us.
The seminar, which commenced today, will see athletes from different counties deliberate on matters that affect athletes together with their coaches.
Kuna wengine ambayo ni juniors ambayo wanakuja wanakuambia fulani amenieleza hivi ama fulani katika ndoa yangu niko hivi. So sometimes we try our best to advise them what next to do. Sometimes mtu anasakafika anasema nimelemewa na maisha.
Wasikuve moyo. Mtu atrain na sidi kuomba Mungu na nyota yake itatimia.
And advise our athletes that sometimes when they get money they should think the family is the one very important than that money and than the.
Waweza kufanya kila wakati, ikuwe ni kitu, ikuwe ni process, isikuwe ni is an event of one day alafu inasahaulika.
Tangu ni tuwe very grounded kwenye tuko upcoming, tujue Mungu atatujalia siku moja tuwe wakimbiaji wakubwa na tupate hera na maisha mazuri.
I'm not going to repeat myself because of the visuals around.
Football Kenya Federation boss Nick Mwandwa says his federation is committed in nurturing sports talent from the grassroots in a bid to build talented footballers who can enhance the quality of football in the country. Mwandwa was speaking during the CAF B license coaching course that started yesterday at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. He said the federation has so far trained over 4,000 coaches at the CAF D license level and over 600 coaches at the CAF C license level, with the first group to take the license course set to graduate in December.
Mi ambition yangu ni get your knowledge na niweze kupanda from where I was, nipande pia juu na pia whatever knowledge niko nao nikiongezea na CAF B sahi najua na impact team yangu na at least naweza pia kusaidia kuwaleta kuna hizo talents wako nazo na pia to produce talent kwa national teams.
WRC Safari Rally Local Organizing Committee (LOC) is working around the clock to ensure more Kenyan drivers compete in next year's event, which will be held in the country for a second year running. To achieve this, more young drivers have been enrolled in the Fiesta program. According to WRC Safari Rally CEO Phineas Kimathi, such initiatives will enable young drivers gain skills to favorably compete against the world beaters.
Kimathi exuded confidence of staging a better championship after learning from this year's challenges, among them solving the traffic snarl-up and crowd control. The CEO called on many partners to come on board and support the government as preparations are already underway for next year's championship.
An opportunity to learn from other countries and other sports that have completely commercialized sports. The government will be there to provide security. The government will be there to provide the immigration services. They will be there to provide control during the event. And they will also be there to make sure that should we not raise enough money from the private sector, then they would come in and make sure that the event runs, because again, the government is there for the people, and the people of Kenya benefits when their economy benefits.
The former rally driver is optimistic of the Kenyan Championship being retained in the WRC calendar, as it's the only unique rally series held across a national park, which will attract more visitors and tourists in next year's event.
We started the FI Rally Star program, where we've picked talented young drivers who are under 26, who have shown real talent, they've competed, and they have the capacity to compete in international events.
Kenya staged a successful event last year after the championship making a comeback following a 19-year miss.
That puts a cap on Matters News this morning. Remember, you can get further details on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Now for this Tuesday morning, how are major roads looking like? Traffic Marshal A1 is on the other side of the studio to bring us up to speed. To you, Doreen.
Feather Road is our focus this morning when it comes to matters traffic. Remember that this particular route, residents are around that area, those coming from Embakasi, had complained of the poor state of this road. So it needed to be worked on. That is in terms of that rehabilitation. I will be showing you how it looked like initially, and then after it was rehabilitated, how it looks like and how it is altogether impacting or affecting the traffic flow therein. So this is actually what I am talking about. This is how Feather Road used to look like, in a very poor state. And the time when Outer Ring Road was being expanded or reconstructed, this particular route didn't benefit from that reconstruction process. So it just took the efforts of Kura as well as the MP of this particular area to see how best they could rehabilitate this route, given the fact that it leads to areas of Feather, of course, areas of Nyayo Estate, and going to all that to the other side of Mombasa Road as well. So this works were done just about a few months ago, and I'll be showing you how it is now looking like. But this is how the road used to look like, in a very poor state, just the same as how the Kasarani Mwiki Road looked like, which again resulted residents complaining and even going to the streets just to ensure that that particular stretch was worked on in terms of rehabilitation, at least to make it easy for residents to be able to use this particular route. So this is now what we're just trying to look at. If at all it resulted to any reduction of traffic flow, this is that same stretch, which is Feather Road. This is how it is looking like this morning. Not that bad. In fact, moving at a very swift pace. This is as you leave areas of Outer Ring, going to sections of Feather, as well as leaving areas of Feather Road, coming to the city center. Just a slight traffic as you head over to the CBD, but then again, that is really expected. It is the early morning hour, so obviously a lot of activities, especially as you come to the city center. But again, on that other section, as you head over to areas of Nyayo Estate, areas of Feather, again, as you get to branch off to sections of Mombasa Road, on that particular section, moving at a very, very swift pace, no traffic at all. Clear indication of the recarpeting of that stretch serving its purpose really well, because again, this is also why it was worked on in terms of recarpeting, just to see how best they could reduce the traffic flow therein, and that is working well and coming along well as well. Moving on that, away from that particular section, all the way on that area, or better still on that lane, moving at a swift pace. In fact, no traffic at all. Just as you come to the city center is where traffic builds up just a bit, but altogether still a manageable kind of traffic. But again, I've told you, simply because it's the early morning hours, so basically what we are seeing is just what we would really expect to see there. As you head over, or better still branch off to the section of Outer Ring Road right now, moving at a very swift pace on that particular lane as you leave areas of Outer Ring, coming through that stretch of Feather Road. Again, as you also head over to areas of the other section of Mombasa Road, on that other side, as you leave areas of Mombasa Road, coming through Outer Ring, not that bad also. Again, also clear indication of the expansion of Outer Ring Road still serving its purpose, because again, this is also why this route was expanded, given the fact that it serves a lot of estates therein, as well as small scale and medium scale businesses. So clearly all that will result to heavy kind of traffic on this stretch. much, and this is also why it was expanded. So this is how it's looking like this morning in terms of traffic. Our focus keenly being on how Feather Road looks like, and this is all in a bit to try and track the progress after the recarpeting of that road. How is it in terms of traffic? Has it reduced the traffic flow, and what is the impact of that recarpeting? That is our focus this morning on Matters Traffic at just 45 minutes past 7 a.m. or better still, a few minutes to 8 a.m. That is how it's looking like in terms of traffic along Feather Road.
So let's take a look at what's on the dailies here. On our local dailies, with me I have the Star newspaper on the front page. Uhuru to explain succession game plan at key event. Uhuru to explain succession game plan at key event. President Kenyatta is expected to be retained as party leader, handing him sweeping powers to play politics even after retirement. Kenyatta is expected to be retained as a party leader, handing him sweeping powers to play politics even after retirement. That's what's on the front page of the Star newspaper. Tolerance test as Ruto and Raila storm quote-unquote enemy territory. I will give you more details briefly. Still on the front page, NHIF in a spot for failing to refund 400 million shillings extra police cover. Interior PS, that is Karanza Kibisho, on Monday told MPs that his ministry is withholding 400 million shillings subscriptions to the National Hospital Insurance Fund as two agencies tussle over refunds. Appearing before the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee, the PS said that they resorted to withholding subscriptions after their numerous letters to NHIF went unanswered. That is on the front page. Again, all counties to get strawberry ARVs for children by January 2018. The story continues to say that by next year, January, Kenya is expected to provide the new regimen of pediatric ARVs to all 47 counties. The dolutegravir tablet for children from 3 kilograms to 20 kilograms was introduced in Kenya in September to improve outcomes. The DTG, as it is abbreviated, is more effective, easier for children to take, has fewer side effects than alternatives, and has a higher genetic barrier to developing drug resistance. It is expected to enable children to successfully remain on medication and prevent thousands of premature deaths each year. So it is also the frontline medication recommended by WHO. Now the drug is rather currently found in 12 counties that account for 50% for the children. They include Homa Bay, Kisumu, Uasin Gishu, Nakuru, Turkana, Nairobi, Kakamega, Kiambu, Kilifi, Meru, Machakos, and Garissa counties. All right, very quickly, tolerance tests. SDP, Ruto and Raila storm quote-unquote enemy strongholds. Kenya's political maturity and tolerance will be at play and sorely tested as bigwigs expand their campaigns beyond their strongholds into perceived enemy territory. Now, Deputy President is expected actually today in Kisumu for a 3-day tour of ODM leader Raila Odinga perceived Nyanza backyard. The DP and his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta, have largely given that particular region a wide berth. But Ruto has been to Migori and was hosted at the home of Governor Okoth Obado with Raila's blessing. All right, so Raila is also planning to have an extensive visit to South Rift weeks after he staged a mega rally in Eldoret, a town seen as DP Ruto's capital. And in recent weeks, Ruto has camped in Ukambani while Raila has pitched tent in Mount Kenya in a new vote hunting strategy. So, according to the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, this is what they say. They so far have exhibited, quote unquote, excellent political maturity in campaigns. And I hope my colleagues, you can all agree with me that apart from that incident in Busia where the DP's motorcade was stoned and all that, so far it's so far so good. We can all agree to that.
Absolutely, and we hope we actually maintain the same spirit and mood all through as we get closer to the elections themselves. Now, let me take you through the front page of the Daily Nation. Very busy, many stories that have been featured here, starting with that particular story concerning the DP, and here they go on to say DP's the date with destiny. As the 30th of November draws nearer, that's when we'll be having the Jubilee, of course, the National Delegates Conference, where Jubilee is expected to, according to those that have already spoken, they say that the DP could be kicked out of Jubilee should he choose not to, quit it before then. Those are just some of the allegations or claims that have been made so far. And to add on to that, let me just quickly run you through this particular story. It has been captured here on page 4. That is also a day where they hope one of the main goals is to create more deputy party leaders, to create more slots to accommodate more deputy party leaders. And this is according to what the Secretary General of Jubilee had to say. And they also say that they take notice that pursuant to Article 711 and 712 of the Jubilee Party Constitution, these are some of the changes that they hope to make during that National Delegates Convention that will be happening. And also, still according to the Registrar of Political Parties, that is Anne Deritu, who already reserved the Azimio la Umoja name as the expected coalition that will be made between Jubilee and ODM as per the request of Suna East MP, that is Junet Mohammed. And apart from dealing with the DP and his allies, President Kenyatta allies also said that, this meeting could be the formalization of the divorce proceedings between the president and the deputy president moving forward politically speaking. So that has been captured there. Then the other story is concerning Musa Mudawadi. The last time he was seen in public was on the 31st of October, and since then he has been quite on the low hush-hush. But yesterday he broke the silence, saying that I am well and I'm here and well, to just quench and sees the rumors that are going around. But according to one of his close aides, they did say that he fell ill, was taken ill, and was under the advice of his doctor to take it easy and take a short break from the politicking and the campaigning. That story has been captured here on this particular daily. Coming to the main read, the high cost of indiscipline. Now, the Parents Association say 35 schools have been affected by fire just this term only. And looking at this wave of unrest, parents with bills amounting to millions of shillings, they have been slapped with the reconstruction money that is needed for these schools that have repairs and damages to fix. And of course, those students will be found culpable. They face expulsion from school and a permanent criminal tag, which will see them rejected in many other institutions where learning will have to end for them. And a good example that has been given here is Buruburu girls. They've actually gone ahead to say, by the way, and also we did see the CS say the government is not going to be footing any bills in the schools that they have, destroyed property, they have burnt dormitories. The government is not going to do anything. And he actually said that the government will not pay for damages, and he blamed parents for failure to instill discipline in their children. And he also went on to say that, he attributed some of this indiscipline to the privileges of the 2010 Constitution that grant the privileges the 2010 Constitution grants children. And he also, called for the return of corporal punishment. We shall not handle children with kid gloves. Anybody who is caught planning to burn a school building will not go to any other public school, and their parents will have to put up that building by themselves. And by that we mean financially cater for the reconstruction of any building that is burnt should a particular child be found. But now looking at a school like Buruburu Girls, yesterday the Form 3 and Form 4 students reported back. Form 2 and Form 1 students are expected this Friday. And as per what the parents were told, the terms and conditions of coming back to school, you will have to clear all the fees, no arrears will be accepted, and each learner is expected to pay 1,500 on top of clearing this school fees. Mind you, they have a population of about 1,400 learners, so your quick math inakuja about 2.1 million. Kenya shillings. And by what they say, the damages could be worth more than 3 million. But for now, that is what they're going to be using, because government imesema it's not going to be contributing to the reconstructing of the schools. So the parents are the ones who are going to foot these bills of the kids and the damages that they made. That is basically the front page of the Daily Nation for you this morning. Doreen.
The People Daily, and perhaps you can begin with Mudawadi and the fact that he's been away for a while, and also what he is promising young people if he is elected president come 2022. We've obviously seen most of these leaders promising to create jobs, and the question still remains, how will it be done differently given the fact that this is what has been promised year in, year out and over time? So he promises about 5.5 million direct jobs to young people, and also a good environment for thriving of small and medium scale businesses. But again, the question still remains, how will this happen in terms of implementation? Coming to matters education, we've obviously had this story during the GMK news brief, and what the Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha is saying in regards to the recent cases of arson in school. And obviously, again, there was that conversation of the fact that COVID-19 could be a good factor as to why this has been happening. But he says that there is no close linkage between COVID-19 and school fires, since statistics and research shows that these incidents have been happening even before the pandemic. So he says there is no relation, there is no linkage between COVID-19 and the school fires that we've been hearing or witnessing. And again, also he went ahead to caution the students. They are saying that if they continue with this, then again it's going to have a repercussion on them. And when we get to the details, I'll be telling you what exactly he meant and what he says about those repercussions there. Coming to matters health, and this in regards to what is happening at KEMSA. We know that the military had been deployed there, but now medics are in a bid to stop the KDF from taking over KEMSA. Again, this also comes at a time when about 10,000 employees of that area, that is KEMSA, had been handed their letters on Thursday last week. So will they actually stop the military from taking over, given the fact that they're still in a bid to try and see what exactly had happened in that place when it comes to this KEMSA wars and the KEMSA scandals therein? And also 9 counties now on the hotspot for teen pregnancies. Nairobi also leading, Nairobi actually leading with the highest number of teenage pregnancies. This is a report that was released by NAC, that is the National AIDS Control Council, as well as the National Council for Population and Development. Just a latest research showing the counties in the country that are leading with the teen pregnancies, and also giving the reasons and factors as to why this particular counties are leading when it comes to teen pregnancies. To a bit of some politics now. Jubilee set to kick out the deputy president as well as Muturi from, that is Justin Muturi from the party, that is from the Jubilee party. So what does this mean for the National Assembly Speaker as well as the deputy president? Again, the article highlights the reasons as to why the party plans to kick the two out of that particular party. Ray.
Scribes this morning are reading from the same script. Matters of school unrest take center stage on the front page of the Standard this morning, being the 9th of November. Who will stop the horror of school infernos? That's the header that we have on the front page. So the government will not take lightly burning of school property in the name of unrest among students. This is none other than PS Basic Education Julius Juan, or Juan, depending on who talked to you English in the pronunciation of that name, but that's a PS, basically speaking for the Ministry of Education, with tough talk there, as captured by reporters this morning in the headlines there. Professor George Magoha reminding parents and teachers as well as students that any damages to school property, the parents are the ones to carry the burden of repair. Yes. That narrative has not changed. Even back in the 80s and 90s, it was so. But then again, what happened? What is happening in our school? I asked you this morning when we started our broadcast, what do you think? Do we continue highlighting the spate of school unrest? From where I sit, and this is my opinion, I believe the more we keep on highlighting this school, students have walked out and notified the principal, or that they're going to get in touch with him or her when they want to come back. such and such is also giving, impetus to the rest of the schools to actually follow this direction. But that's just my opinion, that media now also needs to exercise diligence when we are reporting these occurrences, so that we do not seem as if we are fueling the fire that is school unrest. The euphoria among the children that they can actually walk out, no damage, because parents as well as teachers are decrying the cost of property destruction, but not looking at other costs and also what it really means for you to be indisciplined and such. That's my take. What's yours? You can reach us on KBC Channel 1. That's our Twitter handle. Mine is @Ray Manyara. Further on, the CBK now raising alarm on borrowing as CRB listing halt starts. This is a story that we had totally highlighted for you now, that now CRB, you're not going to be listed on the CRB if you have a loan of 5 million and below, effective 1st of October. However, then, how will these credit facilities be able to tell you apart between a good borrower and a bad borrower? Because credit information system is what credit facilities actually rely on. CRB was one of the strategies to ensure that defaulters do not default, or rather borrowers do not turn defaulters. Further on, talking about matters politics, Ruto is in Luo Nyanza there. So much talk coming out from the political scene. Further on, we will also be bringing you the live transmission from the courts in regard to matters of which direction then should we take in regard to the BBI. This is going to be coming up in not too long. That's around 9 a.m. So it's going to be televised here at KBC Channel 1. Further on, there's an opinion piece here that says that ANC leader Musa Mudawadi shouldn't support any of the other leaders, but should go the whole way. This is an opinion piece by Oscar Okwaro Plato, who is a political scientist. It says if Mudawadi decides to stick it out alone to the end, he will have a clear pathway, unencumbered by the kind of destructive battles that saw him shoved into the periphery and the rug pulled from under his feet in Nasser in 2017. He will also be in prime position to welcome on his own terms those political players who will have no roof to accommodate them in 2022. This is an opinion piece by Oscar Okwaro Plato, who is a political scientist. We continue just moving on, just to give you just quick highlights of what is making headlines. I want to also take a sneak peek onto what is happening across the world. We know that the COP26 is still underway, and we had the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, there making headwinds and actually challenging leaders that there's lots of talk, especially from big wigs in as far as big countries are concerned, big economies, but really nothing is happening in as far as implementing what is spoken. His speech there, remember, you can get it on our various platforms there. It caused quite a stir there, challenging world leaders in regard to that matter. Just a quick sneak peek of also stories that make headlines across the world. Just next door, so to speak, this is Ethiopia. People fleeing Ethiopia allege attacks and forced conscription. The US and African Union envoys have been holding talks with Ethiopia in search for a ceasefire. Ahmara region officials have also asserted that Western Tigray is historically their land. So there's been a push and pull. So far, 2 million have been displaced by fighting in Tigray, Ethiopia. You can catch on with more details. On the other hand, in as far as Asia is concerned, Xi Jinping, that is the Chinese president, is laying ground for another third term in power during a party meet. Further on, talking about the changing times in as far as matters global are concerned when it comes to COVID-19. Now, travelers across the globe are excited that the United States has lifted its entry ban. Yes, the ban has been lifted. So, however, you have to be vaccinated. The U.S. land borders are also reopened to non-essential travel, though differing rules over coronavirus vaccine threaten to hold some family reunions for people seeking to cross between, the U.S. and Mexico. That reminds me that we are not down out of the woods in as far as Kenya's coronavirus situation is concerned. Well, the numbers may be down. Remember, coronavirus is not only subject to Kenya, so to speak. We need to remain safe, social distance, mask appropriately, as well as wash your hands with soap and running water or sanitize. That was just a sneak peek of those stories that are, have caught the attention by the scribe this morning, as far as a copy of the Standard is concerned.
All right. So, Regina, you've talked about that suspension of the CRB.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a press release here by the Central Bank of Kenya, and I think for the sake of Kenyans to understand it just in simple terms, as CBK says that the Central Bank of Kenya announces suspension for a period of 12 months. Actually, it was directed by the President of the listing of negative credit information for borrowers with loans below 5 million shillings and whose loans were performing previously but have become non-performing from October 1st, 2021. So we are in November. So if your loan stopped performing as from last month, then you'll be exempted from the blacklisting by the CRB. Consequently, loans below 5 million shillings that fall in arrears from October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022 will not lead to the blacklisting. So that is a period of 12 months that was given of the Borrower Credit Reference Bureau. Further, CRBs will not include in any credit report any negative credit information for the loans of a customer less than 5 million submitted to the CRB from October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2021 for a period of 12 months. So I think that has given a lot of people a lot of tunasema tumbo joto. So if your loan was performing before 1st of October and it stopped just after that, then you'll not be affected by the CRB listing. But kama ulikuwa blacklisted in 2019, bado utakuwa tu hapo tu. Yeah.
And I think that's the clarity that most people needed, because I think everyone thought kama ulikuwa, now you're scot-free, but this will only apply from the 1st of October to September 30th.
Yes, September 30th of 2021.
2022.
Yes.
Okay. Wale wa nyuma, they'll still have to pay it.
Kama ulikuwa hapo, bado uko kwa black book.
You've not escaped. You still have to pay it.
Yeah. But I think this was meant to cushion small scale business traders and people who borrowed from banks to expand their businesses. 5 million, but for people who take 100 bob to go and do some other things like betting and what have you, still it's going to be a hard nut to crack.
Now, just to chime into this, yes, remember this is not the first time that borrowers are benefiting from a moratorium, so to speak, to be listed from the CRB. Remember in 2020, actually, all borrowers who had applied to banks last year enjoyed a suspension of the sharing of the negative information for a period of 6 months from April to September 30th, 2022 to navigate. And this was also during, part of government's economic stimulus package that was rolling out to just ensure that businesses remain afloat. So this is not different. However, people need to understand that in as much as it's a reprieve, so to speak, it might also lead to a cash crunch. Because if we're not going to have this information shared, how then will these lenders tell apart Victor is a good debt, a borrower, while Jane is not? It's because of credit information systems, and the CRB was put out there to ensure that even bankers can just log in and check how good is your credit. If you have bad credit, it means we will not lend to you. This also brings me to the conversation where the Central Bank of Kenya, as a regulator, has been asking lenders to actually adopt a strategy where they now go for risk price lending, or rather, if you are of high risk, For example, let me use Victor. If you're high risk, that means that you're likely not to repay me in time as a lender, if I lend you credit, or your assets do not meet my criterion, in the event that
as a collateral.
Yes, as collateral. So you are expected to, I need to price my loan, my credit to you at a higher price to cover my behind, so to speak. So risk pricing, that is a model that CBK as a regulator has been asking to lenders to actually to actually practice in entirety. So where you'll find corporates and such, or other individuals who show that they are good for credit, get credit cheaper. That's what I mean in as far as interest is concerned, paid up interest. While those who are riskier pay a little bit more. So even at this time, when you're talking as a regulator, what they want to do to ensure that credit is available, we also have to look in hindsight now that you're not going to have this listing and such for a period of 1 year. What does this mean? Lenders are definitely banks. Banks. This is a capitalistic state, Victor. We are out to make every shilling count. So why should I loan to Regina, and she's a bad borrower, and deny Doreen, who has good credit? So there may be a cash crunch, and these people who are being targeted by this particular strategy, who fall under the MSMEs, might actually be the ones to actually suffer, because this is the second time this is happening under the economic stimulus, so to speak. 1st of April to September 2020 was actually the first time last year that we had such a similar moratorium, a little bit for 6 months, to ensure businesses remain afloat. As actually this one was for all borrowers, everybody. And so to speak, even this one that was made yesterday by the CBK is everybody, but it is targeted at MSMEs, but it covers everybody. So
let's wait and see how this will play out. You can only hope for the best, but situation kwa ground itajitangaza. All right, let me take you through here the Daily Nation, and which story do we tackle? Okay, let's look at this one. It's more human interest, and this is in regards to what is happening in Bomet County. And these are stats that were put out recently by the National Council for Population and Development, where out of every 10 girls that are aged between 10 and 19, 4 fell pregnant in 2021. Aged between 10 and 19. 4 of them out of every group of 10 have fallen pregnant.
Age group of?
10 and 19, my goodness.
10 years.
10 years.
That's a baby by all means.
By all means. And at a 19 bado ni mtoto. Jana tulisema you become independent once you gonga 21, hapo ndio sasa unafikiria kidogo. But this is such a worrying trend, because this is something that na bado 2021 haijaisha. So you can imagine how much worse it was. What? How much worse it was in 2020 amid the pandemic, where the figures were maybe not collected. And this has also been identified in counties like Mandera, Kisii County, Nyandarua, Kakamega, Baringo, Kitui, and Kirinyaga. And there's also been a monthly trend analysis on teenagers at antenatal clinics, which indicate a 15% increase in the number of adolescents aged 10 to 14 and 15 to 19. 15% increase from what was recorded last year. I think this still goes to show us that we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to dealing with these cases, because most of these have been as a result of violation, which consequently leads to pregnancy, and for some, even being infected with HIV.
When you talk about the teen pregnancies and the pregnancies that are really recorded highly, we also have that particular story just similarly covered by the People's Daily, and this is as a result of the report that was released by NAC as well as the NCPD. And of course, Jane, as you've mentioned, the counties with the leading cases of the teen pregnancies, but also NAC and NCPD alludes to the fact that there's also in terms of the high teen pregnancies, also as a result of poverty, exposure to unregulated digital content, early sexual initiation, and inadequate sexual information and reproductive health services. Also, the report cites sexual and gender-based violence, lack of formal education again, and forced marriages as causes of teen pregnancy. But one thing that always is common is that aspect of poverty. When you talk about teen pregnancies, whichever way you want to look at it, regardless of the age bracket, there's always that factor of poverty being the highest caused, the highest leading factor of most teen pregnancies. And also the fact of lack of proper information and lack of proper and adequate information, especially among those informal setups and even the rural areas. But again, when you look at the aspect of poverty, is there something maybe the state can do? Is there something the society can do? Because for me, I feel like it's going to be then a cycle. It's always poverty. Looks like it's an ending factor. It might never end. So then again, it means that we will always keep recording high pregnancy rates, teen pregnancy rates.
It's really sad. It's really, really sad, because here they go on to say that in 2018, that is when, as a country, we recorded the highest number of teen pregnancies, which stood at 427,135. And mind you, you can imagine the many others that were not recorded. Those that are hidden in their homes or prohibited from even interacting with other children because they fell pregnant. So even this 400 figure, I do believe, is not the actual representation, but that is what was recorded. So I don't know, it really breaks my heart when you hear kids having to go through such situations where they really can't help themselves, and those that are supposed to protect them are the ones who are at the forefront violating them.
Yeah.
It's really sad. Yeah.
You see, let me be the devil's advocate just a little bit and be non-conventional. I wish when we're giving these reports, they'd go further to tell us the perpetrators. You know,
can remember last year, Regina, even here in Nairobi, the courts were saying most of the perpetrators of the cases that were reported were familiar people. And who are these familiar people to these children? Fathers, who are the biggest majority number were fathers, followed by uncles. Then there were grandfathers, then there were stepfathers and stepbrothers, and then there's the cousins who are coming sixth.
So it's basically
in that
family.
order.
So if I was to actually write this header, I would start with those that have been mentioned. Fathers, brothers, uncles,
grandfathers.
Perpetrators of rape, defilement, leading to huge numbers of teenage pregnancies. And yes, because we need name and shame. We need to speak up. Just giving us, okay, fine, I'm not tearing into the report. I'm just saying it's a high time. Now we went further, saying that we have this number of teenage pregnancies. Who are the main perpetrators of this? Because this is a vice. These are futures that are interrupted. A majority of them cut short at this point. But these people who are grown-ups, a majority of them are grown-ups. They know that what they're doing is in violation of the law. And they fully do it. This takes me back to this story. I have just seen it here. And if you ask me, even an appeal would not cut it. So there's a story in this particular daily that says that a man had actually appealed a ruling that had sentenced him to 20 years in jail for defiling his stepdaughter a week after she had delivered her baby.
Just a week?
Oh, I think that's remember the time we had the representatives from the gender-based violence hotline.
Yes.
They actually talked of one of the worst cases was a stepfather who violated a 4-day-old baby.
Now this was not the baby, but the stepdaughter who is aged 15. She had just delivered a baby a week ago. Then when the mother left to go do errands, the stepfather, brandishing a panga, pulled her into the home, placed a small 1-week-old baby next to the bed where he continued to perform the heinous act. Yes, and he had appealed.
Regina, you know some people are sick in the head. It's sickness. We might say that, pressure, no.
It goes beyond sickness,
Some
Victor.
people are sick in the head.
These people are just evil.
So even as we look at this report, perhaps released by the different bodies and alluding to factors of poverty, lack of proper information, it looks like there needs to be more given to us just aside from these factors, like the way Ray you're saying, and I think I'm with you on that. Because if we just be so blanket on the major factors and really don't go to the roots of it, then how are we going to solve this problem? Because when you look at the fathers, the stepfathers, the uncles, who is really talking about them and what needs to really be done to ensure it does not repeat itself? Because it's going to be a cycle. How many times have we really had this conversation? And again, all the time we keep saying, sometimes families just hide because they do not want to embarrass their own.
So this is what the appellate court said, the judges. That is Hannah Okwengu, Stephen Mahinda, and Fatuma Sichale. In the judgment, they said the circumstances in which the offense was committed were aggravating. And that this person, they have not given the name, they're using the man identified as RA, was lucky that he did not get an enhanced sentence in his first appeal at the High Court. That this man actually had appealed not once after he was jailed, handed a 20-year jail term.
Actually, I think when it comes to some of these cases that involve such violations of minors who are not in any position to protect themselves, she'll be put in the same category with murder cases, because just yesterday on the Daily, I don't remember the name of the justice that actually gave these directives, that anyone involved in murder cases, the right to have a mental assessment done before they are convicted is waived off.
Yeah.
Or even if
sentenced directly, because you're needing to go through this, they need to do a mental assessment to determine whether they're fit to stand trial. Also delays and consequently backlogs.
Yeah,
so many cases.
Other than that, I also have a suggestion. Anyone who is actually successfully sentenced for rape or defilement, it should be treated like robbery with violence, which is lifetime sentencing. Because we need to clear off these people from the society, lest we do not have a generation to come. On that note, to take a quick breather.
But before you take a break, I have this. If you want your kitchen sink to be clean, simple, don't cook. Let's take a break.
What?
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
You're acting different.
Please. Just be careful. Once a wild goose starts flying, it'll never quit.
I'll ask you one last time. Do you really want to marry me?
You're like my sister. Forget me. I believe in the future. You'll meet your hero.
After you drink this cup of wine, you will become my wife.
那一人那一面
Welcome back to the program. This is still Good Morning Kenya. Quick look on how Feather Road is looking like, given that that is our focus this morning. Remember, we're just tracking the progress therein after the recapping of this particular stretch, given the fact that it had not benefited from the reconstruction process that had been happening along Outer Ring Road. But as a result of the outcry of residents from this area, just like what we saw in Kasarani Mwiki Road early last year, this is actually also what took place on this particular one, and hence resulted to that recapping of what took place or what happened along that route. This is Feather Road, and this is why this morning we are just tracking the progress therein, trying to see the traffic flow and how all this works impacted or impacted the traffic flow on this route. This is how it is looking like. Things have changed a bit on this section, and at least it is opened up altogether, moving at a swift pace in this section. Just again, a bit of a traffic just as you leave areas of Quickmart there coming to the city center. But again, on that, along that area, or better still on that particular stretch, it is next to a bus terminus, again obviously next to a supermarket. So one of those areas where it's either next to a bus terminus, next to a supermarket, a mall, a footbridge, sometimes that is how the road is expected to be looking like, because of, again, also of a lot of activities around that area. And so this is why what we are seeing is basically that traffic on that stretch, but still altogether manageable kind of traffic. And this is specific to that lane coming to the city center. So around that area, specific as you come to the city center. On the other stretch, as you head over to the estates there, moving again at a very swift pace, clearly just showing that the recapping of this particular stretch that took place is clearly serving its purpose and serving it very well, because this is why it was recapped, just reduce on the traffic flow. And again, I mentioned it's also because one of those areas of roads which is, there's a lot of small and medium scale businesses. So again, this is also why that took place there. So away from that stretch, as you head over to sections or areas of Outer Ring Road, still just around the same area, moving at a swift pace, no traffic at all up until the stretch of Donholm roundabout. But away from that, coming through that stretch, moving at a swift pace, there are no traffic. So again, for our viewers perhaps coming from areas of Feather, if at all you're coming to the city center, Outer Ring Road could still be a good route for you. And again, look at this has just changed right now. So the orange color that you are seeing like a minute ago has changed to green. Again, this is why I keep saying all the time that traffic changes every single minute. So what you were seeing earlier was just traffic beginning to slightly build up, but right now it has opened altogether. So no traffic at all on this entire stretch as you come to the city center, moving at a very swift pace. And the beauty is that this is actually on both lanes. So as you leave the estates coming to CBD, as well as leaving areas of city center, Outer Ring Road, Manyanja Road, as well as Mombasa Road, heading over to areas or sections of Feather Road. That is how it is looking like this morning in terms of traffic. Also, majorly what you're trying to focus on is what perhaps Kura, Kenha or NMS has been doing in terms of rehabilitating most of these roads, trying to track the traffic flow and trying to see the progress altogether and how the different works they are doing is impacting or affecting traffic flow altogether. At exactly 2 minutes to 8:30, that is how it is looking like in terms of traffic.
Thank you for staying with us this far. We continue with what we have lined up for you today. And in case you have just joined us, welcome once again to the program. I am Jane Wamboy. We want to get straight into our health segment for today, as we always do every Tuesday. And today it is all about yours and my heart. Today we're going to be having conversations around heart diseases, understanding what they are straight from the definitions, understanding what you need to look out for, and if you have picked up on a few things, the form of assistance that you need to seek when it comes to making sure that your health is in the best state that it possibly can be in. And with us in studio to help with this conversation, we have Dr. Vijay Patil, who is a consultant interventional cardiologist. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Today we are going to talk about heart, and everybody loves heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those that have questions or comments, or you're just seeking clarifications, as simple or as grand or complicated as they may be, we will be sure to help and address them to our best of our ability, of course, courtesy of the good doctor right here. Now, let's just start by understanding your area of expertise before we get deeper into the conversation. And interventional cardiology, what is that about?
Yes, cardiology, it's a study of heart, and we are studying diseases of heart and vessels. And intervention cardiology is a new field which arises from last 20 years, and it has developed so much that we are treating heart without cutting body. Only for simple puncture on hand or simple puncture on leg vessels, we are treating all heart problems. We are treating all heart diseases, including valves. We are replacing valve without surgery. So intervention cardiology is a branch where we are dealing heart and heart diseases without much surgery, with minimal invasion, minimal interventions. We are trying to solve the problem, and with less pain and less stay in hospital.
And how would you, or rather, what are the statistics given in the Kenyan space from what you have said when it comes to heart disease and its prevalence in our country?
Right. Looking to the Kenya, previously it was thinking that there were no heart problem in Kenya, but now when I look back last 10 years statistics in hospital admissions and in mortality perspective, in hospital admission now 25%, that is 1/4 of admissions are because of cardiovascular disease. And looking at the autopsy studies or looking at the hospital records, nearly 13% deaths are due to the cardiovascular disease. And it's something highest, second highest after the infectious diseases like malaria and other. It's the second highest cause of mortality, hospital admissions. So definitely we now rethink about the cardiovascular disease. We need to learn about what are the diseases we need to take care, how we should prevent them, and that will give you a better health, and health is wealth, as all of us know.
Absolutely. And I'd like for us to just try and understand some of these most common types of heart diseases that we have been able to interact with, and maybe you could tell us a bit about them. And the most common one that at least a lot of people get to know about is heart attacks. What is a heart attack to start with? And, what do we need to know or be wary about when heart attacks are involved?
Right. If you're looking at cardiac disease, most deadly is a heart attack. So heart attack is something we should know, everybody should know, and if you treat in one's life. So heart attack is something, if you're looking at your hand, if it's looking red, how it is looking red? Because blood is going there. So if I stop the blood to the hand, what will happen? It will become black. And it will not function. Similar way, heart is having 2-3 blood vessels, and if something is blocked in these blood vessels, if they are 100% blocked, then definitely blood will not go to that area of heart, and it will become infarcted. That's called heart attack, and that part become totally damaged. And once that part get damaged, it can't revive. So if you're looking like any wound happened to you on hand or leg, you will remain the permanent scar on it. Similar way, there will be the permanent damage on heart will be there. But heart attack, if we treat in time, like if block is there, we have multiple options, either medicine or either some injections or intervention cardiological options. If 100% vessel is blocked, if we open that with injection, then definitely that part will get survived, because at particular time, few seconds, few minutes, few hours, we can sustain with less blood supply. But in that time, that golden hour, if we give the blood back to that area will become normal. And something that we need to understand as a Kenyan people, we should understand that time is important in heart attack. We are calling time is a muscle. Heart is a muscular structure. It pumps blood.
Yes.
So if we want to keep that pump good, then we need to give him nutrition, give blood properly to that area. And in blocked vessel, if we treat in time, like within 3 hours, within 90 minutes, if you give the injections of blood thinner, the vessel will get open. If we do the angiography, like we are doing from the hand or leg vessel, we are passing small tubes and we are exactly going at that block area, and we are opening that area by the intervention cardiology, and we are seeing that on the monitor. On that way, we are, without opening any chest, we are seeing the block, we are opening the block, and we are trying to restore that area with good blood flow and good nutrition.
Okay.
So heart attack, something we need to understand the concept, and then only you will realize the seriousness of it.
So blockages in veins or arteries?
Arteries.
In the arteries are what lead to heart attacks.
Yes.
That is the known cause that this is up there from medical standing.
Right.
All right. And how should you, what are some of those signs and symptoms that present themselves that can help point to a heart attack and prevent as much damage due to, especially as you have said, time is of essence?
Correct. So when you should understand that you are suffering from heart attack, what are the symptoms? Basic symptoms, if you're looking for the heart attack, if you are non-diabetic, you'll get typical chest pain. And chest pain will be on the left side of heart, or maybe on shoulders, maybe it will go to the left hand, sometimes choking like sensation in neck. So these are the common symptoms, but this common symptom will see in 30 to 40% of patient. Remaining, like if patient is diabetic, patient is having multiple comorbidities, then the symptoms will vary. Some will feel like tightness in chest only. Somebody is keeping stone on their chest. These will be the common symptom. Along with that, they will have profuse sweating. You're sitting in AC and still you're sweating. That means something is wrong. And bodies try to give some signals always. You'll feel extreme tiredness if you feel sweating unnecessarily, if you're sitting in AC and still you're feeling sweating. There is uneasiness, pain in the shoulder, chest. You need to seek medical help, and you should think about this new entity like heart attack, and you should understand it.
Absolutely, and those are the signs that we are here to help our viewers better understand. Now let us move on to another common type of heart disease, and this is heart failure.
Yes.
When you talk about heart failure, kindly enlighten us.
Yes, when I come to the Kenya, I understand here the hypertension is very common. Now after 25 years, 30 years of age, people start taking hypertensive pills. And over a period, what happen? If you work more, you will get tired. Similar way, if heart works more, if blood pressure is high, your diabetes, you're having multiple issues, if you have previous heart attack. So heart is already damaged and you are trying to give him more work. Like sick horse, you are trying to run. So that will ultimately land up in failure. So heart failure, there are multiple causes. But in Kenya, I feel hypertension is the leading cause, and along with hypertension, diabetes, and another thing is rheumatic heart disease. Rheumatic heart disease means during childhood, if they are not treated for fever, cough, upper respiratory tract with the antibiotic, the infection will go into the valves, and that valves infection remain persistent, and that will lead to rheumatic heart disease. So hypertension, diabetes, rheumatic heart disease, and the cardiac per se myocardial diseases like myocarditis, all these will lead to the heart failure. And if you're looking at the heart failure, basically in heart failure you'll get the leg swelling, you'll feel breathless even walking minimal distance, or in some patients even doing daily activities like going to the toilet, doing the daily kitchen activity, they will feel breathless. These are nearly symptoms of the heart failure. And heart failure per se is common because of you have not treated heart in a time. If you have not treated hypertension in time, if you have not treated myocardial infarction or a heart attack in time, if you are not properly controlling your diabetes, if you are not taking any medications for your rheumatic heart disease or any fevers, that ultimately lead to damage to the heart, and it will be the permanent. And yesterday only I did one case where the heart pumping has dropped from normal 60% to 10 to 15%, and his age was 50, so he's having remaining 50 years life. And how you'll do his activity with 10% of heart pumping? So for that we put special devices which can increase his heart pumping. So there are medical options, but I always feel before going to doctor, you should prevent your preventive measures. If you took in time, that will save this further deterioration of your heart and your health.
All right, and I'd like for us to talk a bit about now, what are some of these risk factors that we are exposing ourselves to that are predisposing us to heart diseases? And I'd like to start with understanding to what percentage does, genetics play when it comes to heart diseases?
Yes, it's very nice.
Family history.
Yeah, definitely. So yesterday only I was looking for why this is happening. Just only hypertension will cause, or just genetics will cause, or just behavioral changes like smoking, alcohol, excess. All this is cause. It's actually circle. If you're looking at, there should be genetic predisposition for, like Asians are very prone for diabetes or heart disease. That way the African continent is very prone for hypertension. It's in genetics. You can't change that. In some cases, like there are the cardiac risk factors which are modifiable and non-modifiable. And genetics, something is non-modifiable. You can't change that. So genetics, sex means some diseases are common in female, some diseases are common in male. That we can't change. Your age, if age is growing, that we can't change. But these are the genetic, or these are the non-modifiable factors. But what is in our hand? Our hand is having the modifiable factors, and those are very important.
But allow me to just interject at that point. Do we have a lot of cases, from what you have seen interacting with the different patients, that are as a result of the genetic factor when it comes to heart diseases, or they are mostly modifiable factors, as you say?
Yes, any disease, like if you think of hypertension, if you have the family history of hypertension, like your father, your mother, or anybody, brothers, close blood relative are the hypertensive, you have chance to develop that.
Okay.
And what is happening, there is 5% genetic chance, and then if you are not controlling other modifiable risk factor, it will come early, it will go in severe form. Genetic we can't prevent. If in family, like in my family, if somebody is having heart attack, I have the chance of developing heart attack in future. That we can't modify. But some diseases, like some genetic small diseases, but they are very low in percentage. If you're looking at genetic predisposition, it contributes 5 to 10%.
Okay. 5
but
to 10%.
Looking at in OPD, my office, I'm looking the modifiable risk factors are more contributing to the cardiovascular diseases.
All right.
And per se, Kenya is like cardiac wise, they are good genetic background. But what is happening, they have westernized everything, their lifestyle, their food habits, and the problem starts now.
Absolutely.
And that's why I have to work for cardiac things here.
And that actually brings me to the age aspect, because as you say, we are seeing as we advance in age, there are those conditions that come about with age, and one of them has been when it comes to heart diseases. But we are seeing younger and younger people developing heart diseases and heart conditions. What factor does age play when it comes to the relationship with the health of our hearts?
See, age is the one factor which is non-modifiable, but as age increases, some diseases are common in 60s, 70s, 80s, geriatric disease.
Yes.
Those are common, and that we can't prevent. But what is happening now, at 20 also somebody is getting myocardial infarction, like heart attack. At age of 25, they are getting hypertension. 25, 30, they are getting diabetes. And all this is happening early because of lifestyle change. I always tell my all patients, you start ABC, avoid alcohol, tobacco, become active, more active, and choose a good nutrition. If they follow these 3 ABCs, the occurrence of these diseases we can prevent. They should become more healthier by become active, choosing proper nutrition, and avoid the tobacco and alcohol. This is most important, I feel.
So most of these issues are contributed by the lifestyle that we are adopting, which consequently is affecting the health of our hearts. Now, there's someone here who is asking about congenital heart diseases, and especially in children. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes. This is very sensitive issue, and something for family it's a very huge burden if they have the congenital heart disease. And as a medical fraternity or as a cardiologist, we have multiple options. In congenital heart disease basically happen if we have not treated mother properly during 9 months. If they exposed to some drugs, some radiations, or sometimes genetically they have not properly treated during first 9 months of pregnancy, there are chances to develop of genetic this congenital heart disease. And congenital heart disease basically we grouped as one is bluishness causing like cyanotic heart disease, and another is acyanotic, means without bluishness causing. So congenitally there may be chances of development of hole in the heart. Congenitally there may be the valvular issues. Congenitally there may be some anatomical problems. And now in current medical facility we have nearly 80 to 90% these congenital disease we can treat. Even a hole in the heart, I used to treat with some devices without opening baby's chest. From the leg vessel we are passing tube across that hole, we are putting device, that's button like device will put, and that will close the hole, and that will prevent, means lifelong it will give the cure. So the congenital disease are the common here, and there will be the non-invasive, like some congenital disease we need to treat with medicines, some we need to have intervention like what I doing in a cath lab, and some need surgery definitely. And important to diagnose it and treat in time is again important for congenital heart disease. Like bluishness is in baby, if you treat during the birth or after the birth, the life of the baby will be, we can extend. But if we are not neglecting that, the lifespan will reduce to 10 to 20 years only.
And that's the general lifespan expectancy when it comes to those with heart diseases. It's cut down by 10 to 20 years?
No, it's depend upon the severity of disease. Like bluishness of a baby or some severe, that will reduce the lifespan definitely to 20 to 30 years. But some diseases like small holes, the patient can remain asymptomatic for lifelong. That doesn't mean all congenitals. So complex congenital heart disease, the lifespan, if we are not treating in time, can reduce. But simple congenital heart disease, we can do the normal life also.
I have someone here who's asking, what brings about echoes?
Yes, it's actually good question. So as you all know, you are doing the sonography of abdomen to see the structure in the abdomen. Similar way, this is a sonography. On chest we are putting the sonography probe, and we can see the live heart on TV. So we can see the heart, how the heart muscles, how they are working, how the valves are working, and how is the function of heart, how is the vessels are coming out of the heart. And as you just was asking about the congenital heart disease, so first tool to diagnose the congenital heart disease is echo. It's a 2D echocardiography. We can see structure, function of the heart, and that will give the good idea and good anatomical and functional collaboration to treat the cardiologist what is going on inside.
Now, Someone else is asking, and remember, we welcome any forms of questions, simple, grand, complicated, or if you're just seeking clarification, we welcome that. Someone here is saying, I once read somewhere that there's a science behind a heartbreak. When you're going through a heartbreak, apparently your heart also tears to some degree. Is that true?
Yes, definitely. Emotional play important.
Emotional pain,
right?
Yes.
All stress, all emotion definitely will cause some impact on a heart. Actually, there is one entity called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. If somebody, your loved ones, has suddenly died, or if something happened emotionally strong, in such patients, suddenly heart fails. It will, pumping will reduce from 60% to 20%. So any emotional impact will definitely cause damage to your heart, your all over health. Actually, any stress you're going through, definitely it will. But heart fail or somebody's in love failure, it won't immediately cause anything.
All right.
But definitely long term, if you are staying in same mindset, definitely it will affect your health.
All right. Now, for most people, we are always told to mind our cholesterol levels because they affect our heart. Kindly tell us about the relationship between the health of our heart and the cholesterol levels in our body.
Yes, this is a nice question actually. Just now I told about the heart attack and why this blockage is happening. What is going inside the vessel? It's a cholesterol, excess sugar, excess cholesterol. And among the cholesterol, the LDL, that is bad cholesterol. If you eat excess fatty food, excess obesity, that will start accumulating in your vessels also. And ultimately that clog your blood vessels and that lead to the heart attack. So managing cholesterol or your lipids are very important. If you're not treating them in time, they start depositing in your vessels. And vessel is a tube. If you're something clogging, ultimately it's going to block. So we need to control your cholesterol, and for controlling cholesterol, first you should avoid all fast foods like pizza, burger, all those things you should avoid. We are trying to get westernized thing and we are damaging our health only. So oily fried items we should as much as possible we should avoid. Lot of people at French fries, wafers, they are taking, even for children's they are giving. Actually that is not good. We should give them fruits. That will be much better option for anything. And ultimately fried items, this fast food will land up in bad cholesterol in our body. And that start depositing from childhood. So this is called atherosclerosis process. And if we start this lifestyle changes very fast in from childhood, it start depositing. Ultimately in 30s, 40s, mainly when your production or mainly you're in working lifespan of your main crucial years, that time definitely this will land up in heart attack. So controlling your cholesterol is very important.
It is important. So when you hear about cholesterol levels, and especially at a young age when you're told to watch your cholesterol levels, just know it has a direct impact on your heart. Now, someone else is asking, what happens when an air bubble gets to the heart?
This is something funny question. Air bubble will not go to the heart. But similar way, there are the condition, what it's called air embolism or the pulmonary embolism. That mean maybe is a common man as air bubble or air bubbles are going into the heart. Basically pulmonary embolism means some clots from your leg, they travel and they clog your lung vessels where all purification of blood happen. And if they get clogged, suddenly patient become breathless. Even sudden deaths can happen if we are not treating in time. And air bubble usually if in pregnancy or if you are going in a deep sea diving or you're going in a flight for long duration, that can lead to air embolism. and that is one entity can lead to sudden death or sudden breathlessness or bluishness in the lips and all that. But it's not per se, it's a very rare entity, air embolism per se. But pulmonary embolism, similar condition where the leg clots are going and clogging your lung vessels. This is very common in Kenya because it's an little higher altitude. And so especially in Eldoret and all that area, again the incidence of pulmonary embolism is very high.
Prevalent in such areas.
DVT, deep vein thrombosis, pulmonary embolism, these are very common. As compared to the world statistic in Kenya, these are little more incidences there.
Okay. Now, somebody else is asking, is it true that the size of your heart is the same as the size of your fist?
We always say that your heart is like your fist.
When you fold a fist?
Yeah.
Oh, up to the wrist?
Up to the wrist. This is like it's sitting on left side of your chest.
Yeah.
It's arbitrary guide for the cardiologist or any anatomist to understand the concept of how much size is there. But it's not like always be like that. But in general, if you are 6 feet tall, and then your heart will be, as compared to your body, it will be in that size. But this is a normal anatomy. Like a fist will be the size of your heart. But if any pathology happen, it can enlarge, like heart failure at what we are talking. In that thing, the chambers will enlarge and then become big. Big heart is not good. Like you have big heart, what we are talking in general.
Which
should
is not
have the big
proportional
heart.
to the size of your body?
Yeah, it's not like that. The big heart is good. It should be proportionate to your body structure.
Okay.
Every organ should be in proportion. God has made our machinery is very particular about every small thing He has made very particularly.
Perfect in His image. Now, as we draw the conversation to a close, looking at, what you would advise our viewers to do when it comes to better care for our hearts. It's an organ that we cannot see, we can only feel. What are those measures that you would encourage us to take up when it comes to, physically speaking, what we put in our body, our psychological well-being, all summed up together for the good of our hearts?
Yes, for prevention of any cardiac diseases or like what I was talking about, the heart failure, heart attack, all that prevent by the lifestyle changes is the first. What is meaning of lifestyle changes? Basically, you should be active. You should do any kind of exercise, mainly the aerobic exercise for at least 30 minutes or 40 minutes per day. Total we are counting in WHO is telling 150 minutes per week you should do some aerobic exercise. And in children you should have a little moderate to severe level of exercise, and in more than 20 you should have moderate kind of exercise. That should be the first. Second thing, you should choose your nutrition. In Kenya you have a lot of vegetables, lot of fruits. You should take all these fruits and vegetables more in your diet. That is second thing, can prevent your heart diseases, because fruits will reduce your cholesterol. Fruits you give instant energy. Fruits you avoid your lipid levels. It will give proper nutrition what is required. And third thing, you should avoid all kind of addictions like tobacco, smoking, even secondary smoke also. If you're standing, somebody smoking near you, you should avoid that, and that can lead, because smoking and tobacco will cause constriction in your blood vessels, and they ultimately land up in damage inside the blood vessel and leading to the heart attack. So if these three things, if you see properly, I'm always telling ABC, if you consider these three things, you should be in watchful. And in diet you should avoid excess sugars, mainly white sugar. Avoid salt. Salt is another important aspect for the development of hypertension, and these white things you should avoid, the refined flour, sugar and salt. It should be in moderation. You should be think twice before eating all these things. That will prevent your heart diseases.
All right. And also when it comes to getting checkups and just understanding the state of your heart, how often would you recommend one gets that done?
Yes, I was looking to the Kenyan cardiovascular guideline yesterday only.
Yes.
And actually, for anybody is having risk of development of heart disease, means in family there is a risk, or whose lifestyle is not good, they should do their checking in their 30s. Male patient means men should check them by 35 years of age. And those who are having no risk factors, they are healthy in family also, there is no risk of any health cardiac diseases. In those patients, they should check their in 40s, means 40 to 45 years of age. You should do your annual regular checkup. Just before development of disease, if you diagnose in time, if you treat before development of a heart attack, if you treat the block, definitely there is no damage to your body, no damage to your heart.
Okay.
So for high risk patient, at least 35 to 40 I usually consider for the screening, and for low risk 40 to 45 years of age.
Okay. Now before we get to close, let us just address some questions that keep coming in, and now it's in regards to the devices that are put in our hearts, and someone is asking how safe are they when it comes to, you know, given they are actual gadgets that can be manipulated.
So devices, looking from the stent to the bigger devices like CRT and pacemakers. So it's needed, means if your vessels is collapsing and you need to put a stent to prevent that, that is necessary. If you're not doing that, the vessel will collapse and you will end up in heart attack. But some devices like they are putting into the chest or below your collarbone, like pacemaker and CRT, if it is needed, definitely we require to put. It's not like we should avoid unnecessarily. If your heart rate is 30, 40, it's not increasing, you'll land up in eventually in heart failure, you'll land up in giddiness and syncope. And that time if you have the pacemaker inside, it will pace your heart at a normal rate of 70. So it's depend upon its necessity. What is your diagnosis? For that diagnosis, is it required or not? And if it is required, it should be there.
Okay.
That's in cardiology perspective.
All right. And are they susceptible to being hacked into or manipulated?
It's as shown in some movies or some series, maybe they are manipulating pacemaker and all that. It's not that easy. Devices are very safe until and unless you should know the serial number of that device and they have some identification mark, then only they can be communicated with some external device. But for that also separate programmer is required. It's not like you can manipulate by the mobile or something.
Yes.
But whenever such devices are there, doing some MRI or doing some CT scan, you should ask your doctor, can I do this or not, because that may interfere. Magnetic field especially will interfere with some devices.
Yeah, that I do believe. And also before we get to close, you know, looking at the costs that are involved when it comes to treatment of heart disease as a whole in the Kenyan space, what have you identified?
Yes, in Kenya, per se, cardiac care is very costly. But we are trying to bring this bridge in between it. So we are trying to give the echo screening camps. We are going to do some diagnostic camps so that all Kenyan people will at least get diagnosis. And if looking at the diagnosis, if we have the better options of treatment instead of going some abroad and treating, definitely that will more costlier than any other thing. If we have our health system in Kenya, proper cardiac care system, and proper screening in time, proper treatment in time, definitely you will save money, lot of money, but it's definitely little costlier than other world.
All right. Well, that brings us to a close of this conversation. We thank you for the very many questions that you have sent through. As we had said, simple, grand, complicated, we welcome all of them. This is meant to be an informative session. And of course, we have been speaking with Dr. Vijay Patil, who is a consultant interventional cardiologist. Thank you once again for making time. And before we get to close, maybe just your word of advice once more to our viewers this morning when it comes to heart care. So, and even our fellow medics, especially when it comes to the delivery of services.
Yes. As I'm a cardiologist, intervention cardiologist, I'm working in one of the reputed hospital in Nairobi. And for cardiac things, you should be the prevention. As a general public, what I advise, you should follow ABC of prevention. And for paramedics and medics, I'll say we are doing all kind of interventions from angiography to angioplasty. Those are simple or complex angioplasties. We are doing the devices, we are doing pacemaker, we are doing CRT. We are treating valves with balloons like balloon valvuloplasty or some replacement of wall, all that surgery which all over in the world now it's a routine. So we are trying to bring here. So definitely you think of your heart, screen your heart in time and treat your heart in time.
There you go. Free advice when it comes to caring for your heart. Don't just take care of your heartbreaks, yeah? Look after the physical health of your heart. Now that brings us to a close of our health segment and consequently Good Morning Kenya as a whole. Today we're going to have to, cut down our time due to what will be coming up in a bit, and that is the live proceedings from the Supreme Court where we are expected to have a physical session. Actually, it's already underway. We are going to be having that physical session today for the mentioning and the issuing of directions on the BBI appeals. We will also be seeing the Supreme Court deciding whether the 3 judges will be stepping down from the hearing of this particular appeal. So we'll be leaving you with that in a bit. But for now, we just say thank you for staying with us this far. We will be back tomorrow morning with more of Good Morning Kenya. I'm Jane Wamboi. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.